Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Rachel. Sorry my camera quality sucks. It's in my parents' room. Okay. But today is gonna be a little bit of real talk. My hair's wet. I just wet it down. So, yeah. That's why my shirt is also. But anyway, real talk today. Because why not? It's New Year's Eve. It's December 31st. Normally people would be really happy about that. And, New Year, all that. But there is a reason why I'm not particularly happy about that. And I'm going to tell you why. Which is really hard, because, yeah. So, 2 years ago today, we lost my grandmother, and it was today, 2 years ago today. And the part that's hard is we were really, really close. I honestly also didn't even know about it. I know that sounds really weird, but I was on a trip to Israel, through Birthright with about 40 people, like 40 other people. And I could, not see that coming at all. So from December 25th, we left Christmas, day, or the night of Christmas or something. Yeah, we left, the 25th, or the 24th at night or something. And, yeah. We stayed in Israel until, January 4th, which we got back, we got back to the US January 4th, which was 2 days before my 20th birthday. So, yeah, by the way, my birthday is January 6th. So, yeah. But, so I get off the plane, and obviously we have to go through customs again, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get back to my family. I can't wait to give them souvenirs. I can't wait to talk to them, to hug them. So, I go back to my family, and I'm all excited. I'm like, hey, I got this for you, Mom. I got this for you, Dad. I got this for Michael, my brother. And we called my grandmother Bubby because it's the Yiddish word for grandmother, and we're Jewish. And so we called her Bubby. And I'm like, oh, and I got this really cool thing for Bubby. And everything just got really, really quiet. So I got really confused. I'm like, okay, that's weird. What's going on? And then my parents are like, Rachel, we need to talk to you. Come sit down. So I'm like, no, just tell me, what's going on. And I'm thinking, who died? And, I had known, my grandfather had been sick, so I thought, it was him. And I'm like, oh, did Papa die? And they're like, no. And I'm thinking, well, who else is alive? Who else was alive? Because my other grandmother had died 14 months before that, so I knew it wasn't her, obviously. So I'm like, not Bubby. What do you mean? And They're like, yeah. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, are you, like, stop messing with me right now. Like, this isn't funny. And they're like, it's not a joke. Like, we're being serious. And I'm like, no, you're not. And, sorry, that was my phone. And, I'm like, stop. Like, this isn't funny. Like, don't do this. Like, I'm jet lagged. I'm exhausted. Our plane left at, like, 11, like, that night, like, and we got back at, like, 6 in the morning, US time, which is, like, 6 p.m. Israeli time. So it was, like, a 12-hour flight. Or, no. We left at 11 p.m. on January 3rd, their time, which would have been 6 hours before, which would have been 10, 9, about 5 in the morning, our time on January 3rd. Yeah, and then we got back around 6 in the morning, January 4th. So yeah, it was a 12-hour flight. It was right before that huge blizzard we all had. We were one of the last planes in before that huge blizzard, and I was all excited to get off the plane, but then clearly after hearing that, it kind of sucked. So yeah, but after I heard it, I was like obviously in denial, and I'm like, no, like this didn't happen. Like, what do you mean? And I had gone to Israel with my best friend, and that was a whole fun time. So I'm like, what the heck happened? Like, I was really just confused. And sorry, I had to put my hair in a bun. It was like crazy. But I was like really confused, and I'm like, okay, like, I was just like this. I'm like speechless. And I was like, no, like, you're wrong. This didn't happen. Like, if it had happened, why wouldn't you have told me? And they're like, because we weren't going to ruin your trip. And I'm like, no, like, I just talked to her Thursday, because New Year's was like a Friday. No, a Sunday? I don't know. But, and I'm like, I had just talked to her a few days before, like, she was fine. And apparently she had had an allergic reaction to some medication, that she was taking for a while, which can happen. I don't remember the name of the medication. If I find out, I'll let you know. But yeah, so, and I also learned that about the time she was dying in a hospital bed, which would have been 5:30 a.m., like the time, like USA, like New York time, Boston time, like around 5:30 a.m. she was dying, and like she had passed. And so 6 hours later, it would have been about 11:30 a.m. Israeli time. So we were like shopping and eating probably lunch around that point. And then we were getting ready to go back to our hotel, and we went to a bar. Because the legal drinking age in Israel is 18, so I was legal there. So I was able to have a few drinks on New Year's, obviously. So that was exciting. And but little did I know that my Bubby was in the hospital, already passed away. So when I got back, it was obviously a huge shock, because who's gonna expect that? I just talked to her, sorry, I'm facing the camera. I just talked to her, a few days before that, and I was really confused, and of course, emotions were high. I was in an airport in New York, because they flew out of New York, and I'm near the Providence, Pawtucket area, but I still live in Massachusetts. But I'm not far from Pawtucket, so it's kind of far. It was a 4-hour drive from New York to my house, but since it was a snowstorm, we stayed in New York. We also, what was that? My friend's parents couldn't find the airport, and they had left 2 hours later than my parents did, and they were 2 hours farther than we were, so they were 6-hour drive, and we were 4, and they left 2 hours later than my parents did, because my parents left at I think it was 2 in the morning or something, and got to the airport around 6ish, and our plane came in 6:30, I think, and by the time we got through customs and got back to them, it was probably about 7:15. So yeah, I was hungry, tired, exhausted, actually, and yeah, hearing that news obviously wasn't a good thing to come home to. It was honestly really hard, and that's why, honestly, on New Year's now, I either just don't want to party, or once I end up partying, I end up drinking too much, which is not a good thing. Definitely don't drink to forget. I'm working on that. It just kind of sucks, guys. Yeah, so that is why I'm not particularly, excited on a day like today, because who would be excited that, it's the anniversary of their grandmother's death? Who would be excited about that, honestly? But yeah, so thanks for listening to my story time of why I am not really fond of New Year's. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm probably still, obviously, I watched the ball drop, and this year I'm probably doing stuff with family. I don't know what we're doing, honestly, yet, which is ironic, because in 11 hours, the ball fully drops, and it's the new year. So my family's got to get on that, but it's okay. I feel like I have kind of guilty feelings because I wasn't here when she passed and I didn't totally get to say goodbye. But I'm hoping, honestly, that, like, one day, and it sounds weird, but, like, she'll come to me in some way, some sign, and even though it's been, like, 2 years, like, be like, hey, I'm, like, it's not your fault, like, I'm okay, like, you weren't there, I wanted you to be in Israel, and hopefully it'll just be, like, you shouldn't feel guilty, because it's like, I tell people I feel guilty, and they're like, you shouldn't feel guilty, and I'm like, but I wasn't there, my family was there at the hospital when she passed, and I was like a 12 or 13 hour plane ride away, and it was kind of crazy. So I don't totally understand it, but that's the way life goes. But yeah, like I said, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll be uploading happier stuff with the new year. Signing off. Happy New Year, guys. Have a great 2020. My New Year's resolution is probably to start working on my self-care more. Self-care, self-worth, and just all around. Like, focusing on what I need to focus on and what is important in life. And comment down below what your New Year's resolutions are. Yeah, and maybe I'll get some more good ideas from you guys. I love you all, and I'll see you in my next video.